Dr. Manyika, welcome to Point of View.
Well, thank you so much, Zoro. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Speaking at an Open Party event last year, you said that winning the presidency is not going to be a thing for me. With 2 months to go until the election, do you still hold that position?
No, actually, what I meant by that is that all of us, including those people who are running, have two responsibilities. Well, obviously, you campaign to win the presidency. But I think it's important for us to really understand our civic responsibility, which is, look, this is about building the country. This is about educating the electorate. This is about the broader issues, even beyond campaigning. So don't underestimate my determination to win.
So you're still in it to win it?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. But, personally, what I decided to do is that I look at my responsibilities as being broader than that. Just narrowly focusing on the campaign compromises sometimes your ability to engage people who will never vote for you, but who are critical in actually building the country.
In that same talk, you said that you prefer building the indigenous economy over FDI. How would you go about that, especially seeing how the new dispensation has taken a real keen interest in international engagement and focusing on securing FDI commitments?
There's no great economy that doesn't have a very strong indigenous backbone. You can't build your economy on FDI. These things are things that supplement your indigenous efforts. So that's one of the things that we have to be really, really careful. That doesn't in any way diminish our commitment to creating an atmosphere where investors can actually come, where capital can actually flow into our country. But there is no great economy which does not have a strong indigenous backbone. And you have to figure that out as a government. How do we build a strong indigenous...
What would you do? What would be your priorities?
Well, so the priority really is looking at, we're the 6th largest informal sector in Africa. The people who are unemployed, it's not that they're not doing anything. They're doing something. And what you have to do is to capacitate them to get into the formal sector. And you have to really direct funding and supportive services to even the informal economy. We have a lot of artisanal miners, for instance, in our country who are participating at a very, very high level. So you've got to find money and supportive services for those. Now, these things happen at the same time. You open up the economy so that FDI can come in, and some of that FDI actually will create opportunities for that FDI to partner even with local and small businesses. So that's very critical. You cannot build a strong economy without a strong indigenous backbone.
So building off on that, the 100-day plan, it's included in your manifesto. What are some of the things that you would do
at the beginning? So, there are some things that are really within the power of a government to do immediately. Going to Parliament and making sure that we get rid of some of these laws which just make people uncomfortable about investing in Zimbabwe. POSA, IEPA, we just have to get rid of those things really quick. And I don't think that there is any controversy, in fact, about that. I think those are the things that you can agree on across parties.
Why do you think that hasn't been done already?
A good question. I guess each government focuses on what it thinks its immediate priorities. But for us, we have to send a signal immediately that, one, every single Zimbabwean is urgently needed in the process of determining the direction for our country and building it. You've got to do that, and you've got to remove from your law, from your books, those laws that intimidate even your own people. You've got to start really engaging on the issue of what we're going to do with property rights, and that's something that has to be immediate. Now, some of these things, you don't just do them willy-nilly. There's a thoughtful process of doing that.
Yeah.
How can we make sure that an investor who comes into this country, their investment is actually protected? How can we make sure that the local investor, who is a farmer or something, has actually bankable title to their land so that they can actually borrow money and stuff like that? All these things are things that need to be done in the first 100 days. And by the way, obviously in the first 100 days, what you will see is that we are committed to small government. And we are not going to have more than 15 ministers. We're going to eliminate deputy minister positions. That's something that we're going to do immediately. And
you also mentioned a reduction of MPs.
Yeah.
And do you think MPs would vote themselves out of power considering the history of of the last decade?
Right. Well, so I was asked this question just yesterday by someone, and I said, look, I'm not here to challenge the Zimbabwean people with easy challenges. These are some things that we have got to do. And in our own formation, in the MDC Alliance, we actually tell our MPs who are running that, hey, listen, when we get in, you've got to, if we decide that this seat has to go for the good of the country, you've got to vote for that. So you've got to persuade people.
What would be the ideal number for you in the National Assembly?
So here's how I look at it. Right now, we have an average of 32 legislators per province. That includes the 210 plus the ones who are appointed. That average means that each province, if we were to look at the budget of a province, for instance, which at the moment is theoretical, because everything comes from the national budget. If each budget of the province was going to carry the burden of paying people, they'd have to pay 32 legislators. That's insane. It is really insane. We're a small country. We're 15 million people. We don't need an average of 32 legislators per province. So that's how I look at it. As far as I'm concerned, the 150 legislators that we had prior to 2013 were enough.
Would you cut your own wings if you were to win and remove the provision for appointments?
For appointment of MPs? Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Look, those are some of the things that we really have to look at, and every president who really loves this country and wants to build this country has to make that commitment. And by the way, I've also said that the president should not be allowed to just create new ministries just like that. You must actually go through a process of asking Parliament, and justifying why you would like to create new ministries, because when you create a new ministry, you create an entire bureaucracy under that, And right now, you and I know, 90% of the money that is in our budget is going towards paying salaries. And that's because we have all these ministries, and you ask me what they're doing, really. That's a problem that we really have to look at.
Your vice president, he was not elected at Congress. He was appointed, I believe, as your running mate.
Yes.
There's a provision for that in the Constitution in 2023 that's going to kick in. Why did you sort of jump the gun and decide to take that approach now with your party as opposed to wait and have him elected and supported by people within your party?
Well, what we decided was, to be honest with you, when you are actually running, and if you look at our Constitution, the way that we have presented ourselves is we want a situation where, someone who is running has a supportive cast under them who buy into his vision. So, the running mate really has to almost be a reflection of me. They have to believe the same principles that I do. It's different when it comes to an MP. An MP is representing the people, but the running mate is actually supporting me. So we thought that it's important for us to actually move that forward.
You, like many activists, did a lot of videos online. That's how I got to know about you. I think a lot of Zimbabweans did. The transition from social media to on-the-ground politics, to seeing numbers, to building structures, how difficult has that been?
To be honest with you, it's not that difficult. It's just that sometimes those things are not visible.
And you had spent time in the United States, so I guess, let's have that as context too.
Yeah, I've worked in communities for the past 23 years, actually, working with people on the ground. That's one of the things that I love the most. I spent a large part of the last 2 decades doing that, working with people in challenged communities and building constituencies for some of the projects that we're doing. And, we've transitioned here, and that's what we're doing. The challenge a lot of times, you hear a lot of people say, no, you're on Facebook. They just don't see the things that we're doing on the ground. And sometimes it's deliberate. I mean, why would you expose your strategy to everybody? How you're actually mobilizing people and so on.
I guess for some people, seeing is believing. They want to hear how you're doing.
Oh, yes, they will. So I know that people are,
fence sitters.
Yeah, people are, impatient because of the amount of time that we've spent in this dysfunction. But everything in its own good time. We have actually now, if you will follow our Facebook page, you'll see that we've started now revealing our MPs by area, and we're just going to continue doing that as we get closer to the election.
And with your historical ties to ZANU-PF, your father was an ambassador, Robson Manyika. Has that been difficult convincing people that you're not, and I hate to ask this question, but it's important because people bring it up and it's concerned that you're not a project, you're not there to split votes. Are you your own man?
Don't even be, I don't apologize for asking that question, because one of the biggest challenges in Zimbabwe is that we have this habit of dividing people. And ZANU-PF has been a master at it. They've actually made people feel irrelevant because they don't
the same as done in the opposition?
Yes, yes.
The MDC has been guilty of that?
Yeah, I think a lot of opposition parties have been guilty of that. You know, it's only the person who really sings my praises is the one who is an authentic person in the revolution. Listen, some of those people whose families were actually connected to ZANU-PF are just as disenfranchised as everybody else. Some of us were the children of people who went to war. My uncle, I'm very proud of what my uncle did. 1963, before it was fashionable for people to go to war, he left the country and went and trained in Russia and all of that. And part of the reason that really pushes some of us, compels some of us to do what we're doing is, this is not what he went to fight for. This is not what people like Tomogara died for. They didn't die for this. They didn't die for people to be, 70% of our people to still be living in poverty 3 decades after, almost 4 decades after we got our independence. They didn't die for 90% of our people to be unemployed. So the idea that simply because you're connected to your members, family members were actually part of ZANU-PF, therefore the ZANU-PF project is actually nonsensical. A lot of the people that are actually in the opposition, including Morgan Tsvangirai, was a ZANU-PF member.
Yes.
You know that. So do we say that the MDC is a ZANU-PF project because Morgan Tsvangirai, who used to be the head of ZCTU, which was part of ZANU-PF, and the ZANU-PF member himself, do we say that it's a ZANU-PF project? I think the time has to come in our country where we look at each person on his own merits and draw conclusions from what they're saying and what they're doing.
Since Chamisa took over the MDCT, speaking of the opposition, has he reached out to you? Have there been any conversations about joining the MDC Alliance? Has your position changed because you held a position when Tsvangirai was still the leader? Is anything different?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm very, very careful of is not just to talk publicly about conversations that we have with other people, because the moment you put it out there in the press, people have all kinds of expectations and they distort. I know these guys. We talk. I know Chamisa. He's a brother in the Lord. So we do talk. And I am very, very focused on what I'm doing, and I'll tell you the reason why. There's so much pressure a lot of times for people to join this alliance and join that coalition. And in the process, we're really advocating for shortchanging the Zimbabwean people, because I think the Zimbabwean people have to know what you have to offer. And all the other people as well, who you might go into a coalition with or join the alliance or whatever, you have to know what they have to offer. As you know.
Do you think your colleagues don't know what they have to offer?
All I know is that we're one of the few parties that have actually published our manifesto. And we're actually publishing part 2 and part 3 of it very shortly. And I think that is respecting the electorate. That is saying to the electorate, make your choices or put pressure on us to do this after you know who we are and what we have to offer.
ZANU-PF's manifesto has just come out. We're expecting the MDCs very soon. But in terms of campaigning and messaging, a lot of the themes have been the same: jobs, infrastructure development, devolution. What separates your party? How would you do things differently?
Well, so when you have so many offerings that are almost the same, then you start looking at the details. So
what makes your plan better?
Yeah, well, our 10-point plan is, I truly believe, unique. And some of the things that I say, when you talk about devolution, I'm talking about devolving the presidency, for instance. I'm talking about a situation where the new president of Zimbabwe is really a national president. So what does that mean from a practical standpoint? From a practical standpoint, you get elected, first month of your election. 1 week out of that first month, you have to actually reside. It has to be a working residency in a province. And then the rest of the 3 weeks, you're in Harare. Next month, you go to the next province and you do the same. And at the end of your weekly residency in that province, you actually have to do a state of the province address to the nation. You really have to attract the attention of the nation, of investors, of global partners to the needs of that province. And if you do this, so you complete this in 1 calendar year. The following year, when you go back, what you're doing is now you're looking at whether the commitments that were made the previous year were actually met. We'll also see something else in our plan for the provinces, which is really connected to this, and it's another part of our 10-point plan, where we say we must develop a business resuscitation and development plans for each province. And you must have business engagement teams from that province. This idea that you just have somebody who is a governor of a province, and you ask that governor, and I've asked, in the past 38 years we've had so many governors, ask them, what is the budget of Machine?
Who have you recently asked?
I'm saying I've asked on the media, give us, tell us, what is the budget of Machine? I challenge you to produce, for me, Zororo, one single provincial governor who has actually developed a budget for their province and can actually tell you this is how we grew our province's GDP from here to here. They don't know. Because really, their job is simply to be a representative of central government. That's not how you end up with a developed nation, because really, what you do in order to develop a nation like ours is to develop every single province. If you look back to the times when we had apprenticeship opportunities in this country, there were apprenticeship opportunities in every province. I mean, you could go to Chegbu, Hartley or whatever it was before, and you could actually be a fitter and turner at a company there because things were thriving. So our real focus in our manifesto is to make sure that no province is left behind. And it starts with presidential attention to that province. I mean, I could talk about many others, but that's just one point which differentiates us from others.
Let's talk about some current challenges that the new dispensation has been facing. The cash crisis. How would you solve that?
Well, you remember...
Chamisa, I think, has said there'd be cash in 14 days, or he'd solve it in 14 days. Do you have, such an ambitious, or even better?
Well, I don't know where he's coming from, and I can't comment on what he has said because he has his own. Of course. But here's the thing. You remember the days of economics? Yeah. There is this it reveals financial illiteracy when we think that we can solve the cash crisis by printing more money or by getting money from somewhere and putting it in our banks. It's not as simple as that. The way you solve the economic crisis is by creating an atmosphere where capital can flow into your country and people can trust your stewardship. So it starts, first of all, with a government being given the thumbs up by your people and by the international community. When that happens, money flows into your country. Money does not flow into your country because you say it must. And unfortunately, this command thinking that you can actually just direct money to flow into your country, or even say to local business people, put your money in the bank when they don't trust the stewardship of money in the financial sector is idiotic. So how you solve the financial crisis, the money crisis in our country, is by having the right leadership that people trust.
Legitimacy.
Absolutely. If you do not have that, money does not flow into your economy. And Zoro, I must say, this is the one thing that is really frustrating a lot of times when you look at the promises that African politicians make, is the inability to understand financial and economic behavior of people. You can't go around that. You can't. People don't put money in the bank if they don't trust the bank, if they don't trust the financial system, if they don't trust the leadership. They don't put money in the bank. And that's just how people are.
How would you have dealt with the particular issue of the nurses?
So here is the problem that we have, again, in our country. I think if you come in and you say you're the savior, people are going to expect you to produce what a savior produces. And I think there was a lot of that after November 21st. There are things that are just going to be solved just like that. It's not easy to solve all those problems when you don't have money in your budget. But even as I say, when you don't have money in your budget, they do seem to have a lot of money, don't they? You look at all these billboards that are being put up and all of that. This is expensive stuff. You get all the cars that are being bought for the chiefs. That's expensive stuff.
Are we going to see billboards for you?
Well,
your party?
Well, you know what? We will do everything to publicize our campaign and everything, but I'm talking about an incumbent. I'm talking about a party that has never distinguished between the resources of the party and of the state. And they're throwing all that money, and here are people who are suffering. You're looking at nurses and teachers who are saying, look, this is unfair. You can't pay somebody who is a professional $300 and expect that they will not take industrial action. So in answer to your question, I think the very first thing, if I were in fact, I would not be in that position because I would not pretend that I can deal with things when I don't have the budget for it, or when I've decided that I'm going to divert that money to some other things. Why make that promise? You have to deal with the Zimbabwean people with integrity. You've got to tell them the truth. You have to promise what you can deliver, And you have to have this conversation with our people. And this is one of the things that really concerns me even about this whole campaign season, that it's so easy to make promises that you can't keep because you want to get elected. Here's one warning that I would have for anyone. I really don't believe that anyone who makes promises that they can't keep will last 5 years. I don't believe that.
You haven't told me how you'd solve it, though.
No, I'll solve it by telling people the truth. But we really have to come together and tell people what we have and what we don't have. You cannot distribute money that you don't have. You can't, You cannot. And engagement is a very, very important
Would you consider layoffs?
Layoffs of who?
Of nurses, of civil servants?
No. Well, no. Not layoffs of nurses and not layoffs of teachers. I would get into a conversation with teachers and nurses about what we can do. Look, if you are going to promise to give me $10 and you have 5, something is wrong with that. So you're going to do what you can. If you don't have transparent government, if you have a government that is doing other things openly, let's go back to the billboards. These are expensive things. If you have a government that is actually going to say, we paid money to buy 2 aeroplanes from Malaysia, right? We pay for them. How do you expect these people to be patient? I actually believe that these nurses and these teachers would not even contemplate industrial action if you are actually doing things that make sense. So I don't think I would be in that position because I would not buy airplanes from Malaysia. And I wouldn't put up all these billboards when people know that money is probably coming from government.
2 months to go, maybe 3. We don't know when the date would be, July, August. What can the electorate expect from you as we sort of come around the corner and it's the last 100 meters of this race left?
I am not going to move away from the truth and talking about things that I know to be achievable. One of the things that really distresses me, in the past 60 years of the post-colonial experience, there is not one African country that has made the leap from a low-income country into the ranks of the first world. Why is that so? I think at historic moments, we always make the wrong decision. We always get so excited about the change that must come that we actually don't have this very serious conversation about how to get that change. And what you can expect from me in the next 2-3 months is I am not going to be moved. I am going to say things that I believe to be true, and I'm going to press that, and I respect the Zimbabwean electorate enough to feel that they're not fools. When they hear the truth, they'll respond to it. They've never been given the chance actually to openly do that, and it is my commitment to do that. Last weekend, just real quick, I went to a rural community, had a meeting with the chief and his headmen and his village heads and Machindao and all that, and it was amazing to see. They did not take sides with us, but they are saying it is high time that Zimbabwean people were told the truth and made a judgment on the basis of the truth. That's very encouraging for me.
If you don't win, will BZA be here to stay?
No, BZA, you know how BZA started? You remember when we met in Atlanta? BZA was a mantra. It has always been a mantra of mine. How can I actually participate in mobilizing people to be engaged in rebuilding the country? That has nothing to do with a campaign for the presidency. That's something I decided to move back to Zimbabwe, my wife and I, to be part of rebuilding our country, and I'm here to stay.
And the party's here to stay?
Absolutely, we are here to stay. Okay. Yeah.
Dr. Manyika, thank you for your time.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.